All right, so here we are going to be doing a Michelle and Barley's Level 3 certification review video. So Level 3 certification is a minimum of 700 meter long track. The track's been aged for 45 minutes, has to have 2 corners or more, and the tracking team has 25 minutes to complete these tasks in. Now, Michelle and her dog Barley is a beagle. They've been clients and attendees of my workshop for several years now, and as well as that, they have also been participants in my online training course, the Tracking Club. So this is this dog team's second attempt at the Level 3 certification. The first attempt didn't go to plan, and after that we decided that we needed some work in specific areas. So since that was back in May, that's now 3-4 months ago, Michelle's gone back to the drawing board and addressed some of the holes in her understanding of tracking, and now we come back today on this day to give it another attempt. And as you can see on the top right hand side, we have an overlay of the track, and the corresponding yellow dot is where the dog team is currently at. So you can see here the first leg is a nice straight start to the track, and the dog's nailed it. So the dog's got off to a really good start, jumping over logs, keeping his nose on the ground and moving at quite a good pace. So whenever you see that's what you want as a dog handler, a good start will set you up for the rest of the track. Compare that to when you have a bit of a dodgy or a shaky start, and then it's all an uphill battle. So we've just moved out of the pine plantation and now moving into more of a native plantation, from the pine trees now to the gums, and you notice that the dogs slowed up a bit, so it's a little bit more difficult, this environment. Why that is, maybe there's a bit more game in this area, it's a bit more sparse as well, so it could be more affected by the environment, things like the wind, the sun, UV. There's been definite change in the pace that the dog has taken as we now approach the first corner. So we'll see how the dog manages this corner. So it's coming up anytime now. So on the overlay, the blue is the track layer, the dog team is the red. I think here's the corner here. And the good thing about slow moving dogs, which in general, Barley is a slow-moving dog compared to some of our dogs out there, is that they don't overshoot the corner, like ever. They'll hit the corner, and that's where the actual corner is, which makes your job as a handler very easy, because you don't have to worry about casting or noticing that your dog has passed the track, because your dog's very rarely does that. So the good thing about slow tracking dogs is that they don't have those issues of blowing past corners. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, and as you can see up ahead, we do have a bit of a sticking point on the third corner. So, but in general, a slow tracking dog, this is the benefit of having one. And just an interesting fact, beagles' tails are white and long because they were bred that way, so when they were out in the field in the long grass hunting, the hunters could easily spot their dogs working, especially if they were in a field of longer grass. So notice that on a lot of beagles, they have these really exaggerated long tails, and I found out that was the reason why. So anyway, we're now coming back into the pine plantation for a brief moment, which I find a lot of the dogs track the best in. And now we're going to move back out into an open area before we move into a pine plantation again. So far, the dog hasn't skipped a beat. Now, earlier in the day, at our workshops, we always do the same routine where the first track you come for the day is going to be a warm-up track, something that we know the dog's capable of, just to get the juices flowing and the dog in the right mindset and see where we're at for the day. So the first track we did, this team smashed it. No dramas at all. Simple track, one corner, and the dog brained it. Good start to the day. The second track, though, as soon as Michelle took Barley out of a car to get ready, Barley could tell there was wild dogs in the area. And he has certain tells, certain vocalizations that he will give off. And Michelle told me, there's been some dog activity here recently. And we was like, okay, well, let's go do the track anyway. And that track was horrible. Like, it gave us like a bit of a worry, because like, well, this dog's basically wasn't focused on the actual track and we could tell because I knew where the start of the track was. I knew the direction it went, and it was going left, right, so anywhere but the actual track. So this is one of the things that can happen on these workshops. You're in a wild environment and you don't know what's been there before you, maybe even as fresh as 10 minutes before you. So I said, look, put that failed track to the back of our mind. Don't overthink it. The best thing we can do is go and set up for your level 3. Because I know the dog technically can do it. It's just if the environment is suitable, if that means hasn't been any competing odors. And I was like, I reckon that's what we should go for, because should the environment be sweet, I know that this dog can do it. Anyway, this is what we're doing now. So that's one of the best remedies for a failed track, is to get back on that horse as soon as possible. And we just nailed that corner then, the second corner of this track. Now, the tracking team had 25 minutes to do it, complete this tracking, and it took 20 minutes. And a lot of that time was spent coming up here. It was a difficulty in the track. And anytime you're doing longer tracks, 500 meters and more, you're more than likely going to come across this time in the track where your dog does go off it, does have a struggle, and it's upon us as a tracking team to work through that and not panic, okay? Because everything goes great when the dog's working and you're moving along, but there'll be a time in every track where your dog stops that. You're like just praying that the dog gets back onto the track without you having to get involved. That's the best case scenario, where the dog's got off the track, you go, okay, dog, I need you to find it, and the dog continues work and finds it. What you don't want to have happen is your dog to come to a stumbling block and then look back at you and go, I don't know where it is. Do you know where it is? It's not the end of the world, but it's like, oh no, let's have to rely on becoming a team and working this problem out together. But the thing is, you gotta remember, the more you get involved in the track without a successful exit track, the less likely it is you're going to be able to get to the end of the track. So it's a double-edged sword. You kind of want your dog to do the track, be totally independent of you, but you also need to have the skills and the know-how on what to do when the dog needs you to come in and assist. And this is one of the things that we learned, and we've been working on a lot with Michelle and Barley, is how to systematically break down the track in order to determine where the track is versus where the track isn't. And this is one of the things I talk about on my online course, or when we're at tracking workshops, the use of the dog to rule out and, by a process of elimination, determine where the track is. Because the good thing about our dogs, if they've been trained properly and they're developed progressively, is that they will tell you if a track is there or not. And then this is where I keep saying, trust your dog. If you put your dog in a certain area and your dog hasn't continued on with the track or given you any indications, you need to then know that the track is not there. So you can rule that whole portion of the area out. Then go take that dog to a new area and then ask the same question again. Hey, is there a track here? And the dog says no. We can rule that area out. And if you look at the map, you'll see we're coming up to an area now where the track, the direction, we just stop and do a U-turn. And that's the dog telling us, hey, the track isn't here. And if you look to the right of that yellow dot, you'll see another time where we did that. So Michelle here is taking the dog after the dog stopped tracking. Actually, looking back what the dog's doing now, the dog is wanting to go in that direction because that's where the track actually goes. But Michelle wasn't confident enough to go follow her dog's indications then, probably because it wasn't that strong of an indication because we've already blown past that corner. So the dog's like, okay, we didn't go that direction. Maybe it's over here. And now the dog's moving forward in a gingerish sort of way, not really committing, not really giving the handler much confidence as well. And now this is where you start thinking, oh no, oh crap. What's happened? We're going so well. Now all of a sudden, something has definitely changed. So we need to try and figure that out. Problem is when you don't have the benefit when you're on the track as a tracking team, you don't have the overlay with you. You don't know where you're going, so you're totally blind. It's a double blind track, meaning that myself as the tracking assessor and the tracking handler have no idea where the track goes. It's only by reading the dog's body language is that we're able to locate the track layer at the end. So we're totally reliant on what the dog is telling us. And now the dog's showing us no tracking indications, no tracking behaviors. So I'd be like, okay, this area, there's no track here. Let's get out of this area. Let's move to where we were last tracking and check there again. So here we go. And we're well past the halfway point of this track, both in time and distance. But these things can pop up at any part of the track, and it becomes pertinent upon us as a dog handler to know exactly what to do in these situations. Now, Michelle's letting her dog dictate the areas to go cast, which isn't wrong, okay? That's definitely a viable option, depending on what behaviours your dog is showing. Is your dog showing intensity to go to an area? Is it lifting its nose up? Has it given you any clues up until this point as to which direction the track has gone? And I, looking back, would have said yes. When we first came to this area, there was a definite clue given by the dog wanting to go back in the opposite direction. Now that's where it becomes important for you as a handler to now start noticing all those clues and put them in the back of your mind should something like this occur. For now, we're going in the complete opposite direction of where we need to be going, but because this thing's now experienced, it knows what a dog looks like when it is tracking versus when it isn't, and also knows it can move the dog back to productive areas. We have the confidence in order to stop this direction the dog's going, because the handler, as a handler, you know, like, this isn't typical tracking behavior. But the good thing is, don't take this as a negative. This is a good thing, so we can rule this area out. So if we know we come from one direction, checked a potential direction there, nothing. Check this potential direction, nothing. It only really leaves one more direction that the track could possibly go. That's great information to have. So we're going to head back to where our last known tracking position was, which was the transition between the pine forest right in front of us there and this open ground area. And now Michelle's leading a dog to check this, which is really good. She probably could have done this earlier, but like I said, you want your dog to try to give you the track and you to stay out of the way as much as possible as you can. And watch if we can see the dog clock on back to the actual true track. See if we can see that moment. I reckon right there, this little last couple of metres has been the true track again. Tracking cadence is starting picking up again. Dog's moving with more purpose. Your confidence will start growing again, seeing these types of behaviours, and you're like, oh, thank goodness, because that was struggle street. Like, that was probably 4 or 5 minutes in that little area of pure struggle, and you're like, oh, please don't lose the track, because you've done so much of the track already. Yeah, I find a lot of confirmation from my dog and the dogs I watch and train and teach comes from the pace that they're moving. Your dog will have a tracking cadence telling you that it's working on a track. It's good to know what that is, because that's another way, as well as the body language, the speed of your dog confirming that you're now following a true track. Now, all my certification tracks are filmed as well as tracked on the overlay that you can see here on your right-hand side. That's just a way to provide accountability to the claims that we're making. And I find anyone who's doing tracking now should be both video recording and putting the overlay, just as a record, to provide proof and evidence that you can do what you say you do. I think the days of just believing people off face value, it's too easy now to film stuff and have it recorded, to not do it, basically. So all my certification tracks, like I said, have that. Doesn't mean I'll upload them all, but they're there should anyone ask, okay? I'll usually upload the higher levels, like this, level 3 and upwards, because I think that's pretty cool. It's a great achievement. Like, there's no way. Imagine if you had to say, can you find this person in the bush, and you don't have a tracking dog? There's no way you'd find them, because you'd be walking out blind leading the blind. And now with the dog, we have a verifiable, repeatable and reliable way of doing this, which is a really cool thing, you come to think of it. And I think it's why a lot of people enjoy returning and doing this again and again with their dogs. Because it's what other activity that you have out there where it's a dog-leg activity that the handler is in the background. So much so, right all the way through the training. Obedience is in that, protection is in that. Tracking, it's the most collaborative sport that you can do with your dog, or endeavor you can do with your dog. It's literal teamwork, which you have to work together in order to get to the successful end of the track. So coming up to that now, and I know how much effort this team puts in, so I was just willing them on mentally in my own mind, because I can't say anything on the track. When you're an assessor, all I tell the tracking team is the time at the halfway point. So this one's 25 minutes, I said 12 and a half minutes have gone. That's all I say for the whole track. But I always wish them the best in my own mind, and sending out the good vibes. So we're on the final leg here. Watch your dog's speed of movement pick up towards the end of the track. Dog knows it's getting close. Hitting that proximity of that track layer. And brilliant work from that team. Excellent. So for them, the next one will be a level 4, which is an hour old, 1,000 metres, 3 or more corners, and a really good goal to have for you and your tracking dog. So congratulations to this team. Well done.
Here's the food. Quick, he says. Oh.